Antonio, thank you for being here
Thank you for having me.
today. This is our program called Bridges to Business, which is an opportunity for our clients who've started and are running successful businesses to have the opportunity to just walk with us through that journey. So today, you are the proud owner of the Ford Music Center, and you are the owner, operator, and Chief Executive Officer. So talk to me a little bit about your journey. From where did you begin the idea to how did it get to a successful business today?
That's a very good question. Well, my journey, I've always loved music, but if I'll be very honest, I didn't really see a music store in my cards. My wife and I, we wanted a place where we were looking for a place that we could do music lessons, do like studio time, audio recording, and I just didn't have the space. I didn't know where to go. But when we got connected to this gentleman named Daryl Audia, who owns the store, he blessed us. He was like, I've always wanted a music store here. And if you see the building, it looked like a music shop. Like it looks like it has the storefront windows. Mm-hmm. And so it was like a divine connection when we met him. So when we saw the space, my wife and I said, well, I think we should just sell instruments, like why not, be like a music instrument supplier for this area. And I was thrilled because I used to work for Guitar Center years ago and I loved it. I used to have a bunch of guitars because of the crazy discounts. But I never saw myself being a music store owner. And so when we got the space, I'm blessed to be able to be knowledgeable about guitars, pianos.
Sure. You've had the back stuff that you didn't have some of a background and experience in the music industry.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know that. I didn't think why not, help other people find the right instrument for them, find the right piano, the right guitar, and just the right music equipment. So really when we got the space, it really worked itself out as a music store. It only made sense. So that's how it kind of came about. And we were blessed to have the upstairs and the downstairs part. The downstairs part is where we do the music lessons and we have the studio sessions. And the upstairs is the storefront part where, people who need music instruments, they need guitar strings, microphones, whatever it may be. We've been blessed to start supplying that stuff there. So
nice.
So it was like something that I didn't expect, honestly.
So how did you become knowledgeable of the Duquesne University Small Business Development Center?
That's a very good question. So my brother-in-law, he owns a restaurant. He owns a couple restaurants, and I believe he told my wife about it, and he has had experiences with you guys, beautiful experiences. We got a chance to see some of the work. I think it was at a meeting for the Lawrence County where they have all the businesses together.
Yes.
Yeah. And we got a chance to see him, the video. I'm not sure. I think you guys shot that video for him. But if not, I know you guys played a huge part in it. Yes. And we were definitely, we were told about what you guys offered in the Newcastle branch. So we stopped down. We met with Douglas Harding. We had a couple meetings with him, and he was so key to us for the beginning of our, just asking us questions like, do you have a business plan? What are some of you guys' goals? Trying to, the things that we needed to get the gears going. So it was through my brother-in-law, from his experience with you guys, that kind of just transferred over to us. And we stepped out on faith. We wanted to take the resources available, and we were very thankful for what you guys provided because not every place, or I would even go as far as saying, from what I know, not every city or state has that accessibility or that support as you guys have given us. So we were truly thankful for that, man. Really.
So you got to work with Doug Harding. He's one of our senior business consultants.
Yeah.
So I hope he did you proud.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
What as you look at the process, what would you say? We always say Monday morning quarterbacking, right?
Okay.
It's all perfect then, right? What were some of your challenges? What were some of your challenges And how then did us here at the center help you through that?
Well, we met with Douglas early on in the year. We didn't even open the store yet.
Right.
When we met him, because my wife and I, we wanted to make sure that this would be something that would be effective for where we were first. So Douglas it was wonderful because he always would check in with us. Hey, did you guys start a business plan? Are you guys thinking about doing a grand opening? He was asking us those questions, and at that time, it was so good for us because it made us think like, as a business, are we really ready for that? Are we running good enough for us to say, let's have a grand opening? And so at the beginning, but for me and my wife, we intentionally started very slow. We didn't want to just open up the music store because I still had a full-time job. I was, just taking care of the family. But we had a system where we opened up by appointment. So we kind of slowly introduced ourselves in the community.
Yes.
And then once we started seeing, like, people seeing the value of what we were doing and what we were bringing, we got to a point where we was like, okay, now, when Douglas asked us, like, you guys ready for a grand opening? We were ready. We were like, this is the right timing. Because at the beginning stages, even somewhat now, we didn't have a lot of capital starting out. We really didn't want to start business with debt. But we did. It was good that Douglas was a resource for us because, on the business planning end, he was like, hey, you guys, this is what you can do. He gave us just great insight if we needed to get that financial boost to get started.
Well, I think you probably, we typically advise clients is always an incremental approach.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that financing is not an option in a startup.
Right.
But we would take you through the necessary cash flow projections and business plan to say, yes, it looks as though based on the financial position and your projections of sales and volume, that you can borrow money, and we'll show you that even if you borrow money, principal and interest, you should be able to pay it back from a cash flow perspective. Now, that said, instances where you could start a business where you don't necessarily have to go a loan or financing route, as in your case, even the better. But now, where you are in your business evolution, most likely, and without looking at your cash flow or your current business financials, I would say with a relatively decent degree of confidence, if you needed working capital, now you borrow money, let borrowed money do the work for you.
Right.
If you're at a position where, again, you can borrow, have a strong sense that you can pay it back, because it builds your credit up tremendously, and it's also a tax advantage. So something to kind of just think about. So if you as you step back, and as I said, I mentioned earlier, Monday morning quarterbacking, what would you have done differently? Are there any mistakes that now you say, or maybe forks in the road, as Yogi Berra said, if there's a fork in the road, take it. What would you have done differently?
Well, if I be honest, I would have. We've bought a lot of product, like, just because we wanted to fill up the store.
Okay.
So what I would have done is probably saved. I had a better system of saying, you know what, this month we're going to take $100 or $200 to put towards new instruments or certain equipment. We would have budgeted a little bit better at the beginning part. Not that we're in a bad place, but I think that it's been beautiful that we've been having these new experiences to teach us how to flow as a business. We would have just kind of dialed back a little bit more because we spent a lot of money on certain things, which in due time is going to sell. Like, it was wonderful. We had our first Christmas recital, and nice. A lot of people were coming. They were in the Christmas season. A lot of people were buying music instruments for their loved ones. So it was like we saw some great benefit to the sacrifice from that. But if I was able to do that again, if we go back in the time, I could have said, you know what, maybe we could have waited for buying these certain things and, and just allow the money to
So what do you use, or what do you have in the way of an inventory control system? So how are you assessing inventory? Do you do a par stocking? Do you Is there something electronically that you know, like what you're using most, what you're not using most?
Yeah.
So you can kind of balance inventory with sales?
So right now we are using Square as our
Okay.
POS, but we're using it for inventory as well. And one of the cool things I'm liking about it is that it does, well, I mean, like, obviously it tracks everything that we sell, but it's free. And it's been a great asset for us to track out, like, what's been selling a lot, what hasn't been. We got graphs that show, like, I know for now, like, the world we live in today, podcast stuff is selling like crazy. So now that's been a target for us to start investing in podcast equipment, because a lot of people want it. Just from the things that we've sold, we sold a lot in our area. We sold a lot of acoustic guitars, and we've been selling a lot of electric guitars. So the guitars in our area is a big thing in Newcastle, and the surrounding areas. We've been blessed to have people. I've had people from Meadville, I'm talking 50 minutes away from us,
Nice.
come to the store. I've had people, a guy from Pittsburgh, he came up to the store, and so we've been thankful that the word has been spreading out, and so we're kind of now learning, like, as a store, and with today's times, what we need to invest in and what we need to have to sell. But podcast stuff is really, really a big thing now. So
Well, that's nice. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to. I'm gonna have to come up. I'm a drummer. I'll have to come up and see what you.
yeah, okay, we got a
It's
couple.
been a long
of
time since I played, but
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, that'll be great. Come through.
That might be incentivize me to get a new set.
Okay, yeah.
So when you if you were advising any young entrepreneur or someone that might come to you and say, hey, here's my idea, what would you tell them in terms of the process that they should entertain and your experiences here with the Small Business Development Center?
Yeah, I would say definitely think of what it will, the effect of whatever they want to do. What would it have on the people? I know for me, music was always my passion. Our store is a faith-based music store. So I wanted a store that, not only sold good instruments for a good price, at a reasonable price, but I wanted people to feel comfortable if they came in and wanted to talk about their faith of any type. I wanted them to feel at home, and for a new business owner or a young person that's saying, hey, I want to start something. Well, think about, like, the reason behind it. Like, think about your why. Like, why, what do you want people to know this as? Why do you feel like people need it or should invest in it? Mm-hmm.
More or less, not to put words in your mouth, but what's your differential? What's your value-added benefit?
Mm-hmm.
What is this business going to produce different from, better than? Is there a need?
Right.
Right. Do you see the SBDC and the work that we do in business plan and marketing and projections? Mm-hmm. Do you see that as a central part of any entrepreneur's journey to trying to say idea to reality?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, because just from every resource that you guys provide, I mean, from the grand opening, just having Douglas Harding, meeting with him or meeting somebody on staff that gives us financial, direction, give us good advice. I mean, and just honestly, I mean, for it being free, I mean, that's a blessing, truly. You know what I mean?
I always caution the word. I say at no cost.
Yeah.
Because one of the good things that I think the federal government does is they provide through the Small Business Administration.
Yeah.
That is a service that is provided at no cost, which means your tax dollars, my tax dollars, everyone's tax dollars contributes to that. But the return for the federal government to invest in a program where you, a business owner, then start to contribute to the tax base and the economic development of the community, at least in my thinking, is a win-win. So many other opportunities for grant money, you might not see a return 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road. But in the case of the Small Business Administration, and using you as an example, within a very short period of time, assuming all the pieces of the puzzle are put together, that the business plan makes sense, the projections make sense, the marketing plan makes sense, you'll see a very, very, short time frame to be able to turn around a positive ROI. So again, we see that as an advantage, and obviously someone like you today is proof
Absolutely.
that can work. What would be your advice? What would be to any budding entrepreneur that might talk to you and say, oh, look, you did this. You just, what's your advice to me? What would that be?
My advice would be just, first of all, having a business is a beautiful thing, man. Like, I think that's one of the greatest things that a person can have in their lifetime is to own a business because that business comes from the person themselves. Like, it's a great representation of who they are and what they believe or what they want to accomplish. My advice would be to figure out what they can do to make an impact in their community. Like you said earlier, like what would make you different? What would add something to the community? I mean, because there might be 1,000 different businesses that's similar to what the person want to do.
Exactly.
But what's different about them, And I think that's the biggest thing is trying to get people to recognize the difference in themselves. What they contribute, every great business owner, I know that they had a specific gift and a specific name behind why they did what they did. Steve Jobs and, wonderful businessmen, who innovated the world today. So my advice would be just, stay true to who you really, really are.
It's all about risk reward.
Yeah.
And are you willing to take the risk?
Right.
What we try to instill in our clients is calculated risk, not crazy risk.
Right.
We hear, but you have to take risk in order for you to gain on the reward side. What is it risk that you want to take?
Yeah.
We try to help the client then mitigate that risk.
Right.
Yes, there's going to be risk.
Right.
But we don't want you to take foolhardy risk. We want you to take calculated risk. So obviously, one of the key differentials in your business, besides being music, is that it's faith-based.
Yeah.
Give me an example of how that differential works. Give me just one example of how you're combining music with, again, a faith-based focus.
Well, so here's one of the cool things I like about us is that because it's faith-based, our goal when we started was to connect. We want to help churches have musicians. For a good reason, for a good while, my wife and I, we were helping out churches that didn't have any worship leaders or have any musicians.
Interesting.
So I would take, my skill set as a piano player, a singer, guitar player, and I'll fill in at churches. They'll call me, hey, we need a drummer this Sunday. We need, can you and your wife come out do worship? And we'll literally travel to different ministries to help out the churches. But one of the main reasons why we opened that music shop was to train up musicians for churches. That was a big reason behind it.
So that was one of your differential
absolutely
services.
Yeah, and in Newcastle, from my research, I could be wrong, but when I checked, I think it was like 200 churches in that area of some sort, or like in that region, and I felt like if I could create a place where people can come, and it's not even just for young people. Like if there's more mature people that's been in a church that they've been wanting to play guitar for years, I want them to feel like, hey, I need to go somewhere where I can learn so that I can play at my church. I've had a bass guitar student. He was 74 years old, and he learned, and he was playing at his church. I had it was a pastor's wife. She played acoustic guitar for years. I mean, she hasn't played for years, but she wanted to play for years. And she came and she started playing at the church, and, so it's...
Hey, maybe there's hope for me to revamp my drumming skills. What do you think?
It's never too late. I always tell people that's one of my mottos when it comes to musicianship, is that it's never too late. You're never too young or too old to learn. If you have a passion and you want to go for it, why not, And I truly feel that.
Well, I want to personally thank you.
Thank you.
But on behalf of all of us here at the Small Business Development Center, thank you for taking some time talking to us about your journey. And we're here to help you continue on that journey. And obviously, the best of luck to you in all future endeavors. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.